Part 28. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 271. I don't know how to express my feelings well, and I have never liked anyone before, but I always feel that there is a strange feeling when I look at Oreki-san. So, I think I might have fallen in love with Oreki-san. Oh. Sato-san really worked hard. Is that so? Oreki-san seemed to think for a moment. For him, if Sato-san is not a punishment game, then it is a true confession. Well, for a person who is emotionally blank, it is indeed very shocking. But he expressed his attitude, sorry, I have someone I like. So I can't respond to your feelings. Sato. Eavesdropping on the audience. In other words, this is the real scene of expression, and the scene of failure. Hospi classmate broke the awkwardness first and said, I think I'll go back if I still have something to do. And after taking 2 steps, she took Ali away with her. Me too. After she said this, Matsushita Kayaki also chose to evacuate. Because if a friend's confession is successful, then they can celebrate, but now it seems that Sato-san was rejected instantly by Oreki-san. In other words, lovelorn. It would be embarrassing to stay here any longer. So everyone chose to retreat. Kuruzawa, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief when he noticed Kushida leaving, and quickly followed him. After a while, Sato-san returned to the classroom crying. And a few people are still in the classroom. But because it was lunch break, all the students in the class went to eat. Because the school just distributed money today, even boys have points to eat in the cafeteria. But the few people who had just watched and eavesdropped did not leave. This was also considering the mood of my lovelorn friend, so I didn't leave. Thought it might be some comfort. That. Speaking of which, I sometimes see Oreki-san and Horikita-san walking together. Hospi-san was the first to contribute his own information. Horikita Suzune. Horikita-san is not in the classroom now. So it's okay to say that. And everyone also knows that Hospi-san wants to appease Sato-san. In other words, Oreki-san rejected Sato because he had someone he liked, Matsushita-san said. And this crush is Horikita-san. She noticed that Sato-san, who was crying, seemed to be paying attention. In other words, it's time to start comforting. Horikita-san is good at studying and is so beautiful. And she is also very good in the class competition, she is indeed a strong opponent. But there are also such arguments. So after realizing that Sato-san seemed to be crying even more sadly, Matsushita-san felt that this comfort might not be enough. I don't think so. However, at this time, a girl with cute twin tails spoke to me. This is Wangmiu, Kushida's best friend. I don't think it's Horikita-san. I wouldn't have thought that Horikita-san would be in love. That's true. Hospi nodded, feeling reasonable. Horikita-san looks like you are very happy when you get married, but you are completely unhappy when you are in love. Hua. However, everyone found a voice coming. It's Kushida. Kushida dropped his pencil case. Well. Knowing that he was now being noticed, Kushida-san quickly said, well, I'm a little curious about Horikita-san's love situation. In fact, I feel terrible. Because Oreki told her that he had no romantic feelings for Horikita, but he had thoughts of getting married to Horikita. In other words, you can only get married but not fall in love. Is this the same model for Horikita Suzune? Certainly. She also had a handle on Horikita-san, and she also agreed to Oreki's help in handling Horikita's interpersonal relationships. So mitigation said. I don't think these two are dating. It's because Horikita-san put study first. And falling in love, well, it will definitely take a lot of time. Kushida said. That's it. Matsushita nodded. And she also noticed that Sato-san seemed to feel a little relieved after discovering that her love rival was not a top-notch beautiful girl. But then, who does Oreki-san like? The person who said this was Sakura-san. She was completely unlucky because she passed by the confession scene and now she can only stay in the class. In fact, she wanted to go to the cafeteria to eat. And as he said this, he carefully looked in the direction of Kuruzawa-san. But Kuruzawa seemed to be in a daze. Who do you like? In fact, Sakayanagi-san from class A is quite cute, Hospi said. Sakura-san is introverted and timid, and as her friend, Hospi also hopes to bring her into the circle. Otherwise, it will be easy to be excluded. So I followed Sakura Ari's words and spoke. And she also noticed that Sato-san seemed to have stopped crying after saying this. It should be that the emotion of lovelorn has been transformed. Although I don't think this is a good thing, it might make Sato-san regard the girl Oreki-san likes as a love rival. But failing to express your love on the spot is indeed quite tragic. And it looks like she is still in love for the first time. Of course, it's also possible that Oreki-san brought Kamuro Maesumi-san to our class on the first day of school. Hospi was also one of the students who chose to spend 10,000 points to stay that day. I don't think so, but the girls in the class shook their heads. Rather than talking about dating, the way Kamuro-san and Oreki-san walk together is more like, maybe I can't describe it well. But I don't think they match well. Because that's the owner and the puppy. Kushida complained in his mind. Well, that's for sure. However, classmate Wang Miu also joined the conversation. She seemed a little excited. Actually, I know. Because I think Oreki-san is actually with Kushi, I also saw them together yesterday. Kushida's best friend Wang Miu opened her mouth and Kushida immediately covered her mouth. Because Kushida-san has accurately sensed that whoever is being discussed now will be regarded as a love rival who wants to appease Sato-san and then belittle him. And she didn't want to join in. So you better not interrupt at this time, Mei-chan. Kushida-san immediately chose to leave the center of the topic. Actually, I think Oreki-san's words about who he likes are probably just an excuse to say no, Kushida said. Why, Sato-san really turned around at this time. It feels like. Kushida-san said, because Oreki-san doesn't seem to be good at dealing with girls, and when Sato-san confessed his love just now, didn't he blush? It seems so. Sato-san recalled the scene just now. In other words, Oreki-san doesn't have anyone he likes. I just declined. So aren't you still falling in love? Sato-san seemed to be crying again. And this time. What are you discussing? A voice came from the door. I heard the word Oreki. And this is the top beautiful girl Horikita Suzun with beautiful long black hair. She's actually back now. Probably, we were discussing whether Oreki-san has a girl he likes or something, Hospi replied. Oh, Horikita Suzun seemed to have lost interest. Maybe I think it's stupid to discuss love when I'm not studying. And when she just heard Oreki-san's name, she thought that the school would have a special exam this month, so she would be contacted to continue the point harvesting plan. After all, her current points are still far away from 20 million. So I still want to continue collecting points. Only to find that everyone seemed to be looking at her. Then Horikita-san said. Then it's probably not possible, because he said that he wants to study hard in school and thinks falling in love is a waste of time. So I think he would reject a confession like Kushida's. Ah. That's it? As a result, no one in the class talked about Sato-san's confession anymore. Oreki-san has always been a man and would reject anyone. So if it were not Sato-san, then someone else would have been rejected if he had confessed. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 272. And Oreki-san, who was called a scumbag, returned to the cafeteria. He unexpectedly discovered that Banlieu's exclusive seat had reserved a seat for himself. Thanks. Oreki-san also noticed that when he arrived at Sakayanagi-san's exclusive seat, Kamuro-san had already finished his meal. But Sakayanagi-san sat opposite him. Has Oreki-kun rejected the girls from Class C? Yuzu Sakayanagi asked. She sat in a cute position with her knees together and put her cane aside. Looking towards her, I could only see white stockings. Because I have been harassed by some strange photos recently, Oreki-san seemed to reflexively pay attention to Sakayanagi-san's stockings first. Then he quickly looked away. I feel a little mixed, Oreki-san said. It seems to have made the girl cry. Oh. Then you are politely rejecting the person you express your love for. Sure enough, as he said, he was insecure about high school love. Sakayanagi-san stopped talking to him. As for Oreki-san, he felt a little calmer while eating the food brought by Kamuro. Yes. Need to calm down. It was the first time in my life that a girl confessed my love, and the stamina was quite strong. But let's go to the library after school. Because confession is nothing if it is just a joke, but once you realize that the other person likes you, then when we meet again, talking will become awkward. To be precise, you will realize that she likes you, or has liked you, which may affect your mood judgment and so on. And this is a high school with closed management, and we are still classmates in the same grade, so we may encounter them often. So it's better to find a relevant book and see the correct solution. And now, at the back table, a girl with long silver white hair was eating alone. Of course, she didn't sit here on purpose, but found that it was relatively empty. At the same time, after sitting down, I realized that I was sitting in the wrong position. I accidentally sat near the exclusive seats of Class A's big bosses, Yuzu Sakayanagi and Houtarou Oreki. But when he was about to get up, Sakayanagi Yuzu came. So I have to continue to pretend that I don't know anything and reduce my sense of existence. However, it seemed that neither Oreki-san nor Itaiji-san noticed her. So I heard the conversation between Oreki-san and Sakayanagi-san. It seems to be a confession and then rejection or something. In other words, Oreki-san actually rejected a girl's confession just now. That's really welcome. Hiri discovered that the girls in the class sometimes discussed Oreki-san's affairs. Then Oreki-san's photo will be passed around. The source seems to be Kushida-san. After all, he is a handsome guy and has good pictures, so let's take a look together. Although Hiri is alone, she doesn't want to be left out, so she also has 1 or 2 photos of Oreki-san on her phone. Although Ryuan dislikes Oreki-san, it is undeniable that his face is still very popular among girls. Some even want to see what he would look like with his bangs raised. And Hiri also admitted that this is a handsome guy. However, what is a little strange is that some girls in the class have reacted a little strangely recently. That is Manabe-san. When she first entered school, Manabe-san even invited her to participate in Oreki-san's plan to open a store. At that time, she thought it would be better to be cautious. Then he advised the other party to be cautious. In the end, they all joined in, just like Ishizaki Daichi and the others. Then I lost some points. But because it was Long Yuan's strong interruption, Long Yuan took the blame. But Manabe and the others still have good senses about Oreki. As a result, after the exam for the preferential treatment recipients, I felt that they were not as enthusiastic as before. More like a little scared. Because she is usually alone and is used to observing others, Hiri is keenly aware of the differences between Manabe and the others. Thinking about the reason. But now, Oreki-san directly rejects other people's confessions, and then reports it to Sakayanagi-san? Snort. Scumbag. Because doesn't this already have a date? And the afternoon time. First grade class is here. Then that's the end of today's lesson. Get out of class is over. There were only 2 classes in the afternoon, and the math teacher left immediately after finishing the class. While staying in class, Oreki-san found that he was a little distracted. Not as efficient as usual. In other words, my heart was indeed shaken. It was his first time being confessed, so he had no experience. Sure enough, I still have to go to the library to find relevant books to study, and then calm myself down. After all, he admitted that he had no romantic feelings for Sato-san. But, in the face of a girl who mustered up the courage to confess to herself, can she really go back to the way she was before? He had seen the scene where Ichi-nose was confessed, but when it was his turn, he found that he couldn't do it so easily. And looking at it this way, Ichi-nose is really strong. Maybe contact Ichi-nose for advice? It's probably not possible to find Kushida. Although Kushida was confessed to her when they went on a date yesterday, her heart has not wavered. So maybe she didn't take these so-called confessions to heart at all, and her heart was calm and unshakable. And Oreki refused to imitate her wearing a mask. Oreki-san, Sakayanagi-san. However, Katsuragi-san has been waiting for a long time. I hope you can help me with the questions for this exam, Katsuragi said. Katsuragi-san's academic ability also has an A level, but if it is based on 100 points, he can only get 89, but Oreki can get 100, and Sakayanagi Arisu can also get 100 points. In other words, Oreki-san and Sakayanagi-san sitting next to him looked at each other. Katsuji-san wants Sakayanagi-san to give the question right, and Oreki-san has already stood up. That's not right, Sakayanagi Yuzu said. Katsuragi-san hopes that Oreki-san will do this work. Then the two looked at each other. The questions need to be asked from 8 subjects, with 50 questions in each subject. Their class has declared war on Class C. Then this paper will be submitted on the 24th, and then become the test paper for Class C to be assessed on the 27th. Looks matter. However, it is also very troublesome. Because you need to review the content of the 3rd grade of junior high school, and make or choose from the exam syllabus given by the school. It's not easy. It is also very time-consuming. And this paper was to be leaked to Class C in exchange for the island's exchange of supplies. So it's equivalent to a paper that will be leaked. Are you so careful about the papers you want to leak? No one can fail the exam. I think you need to be very cautious about writing papers, Oreki-san said. That's what I thought too, Sakayanagi nodded. So, Katsuragi-san, can I ask you a favor, Oreki said. I also feel that I can only rely on Katsuragi-san, Sakayanagi said. Katsuragi instantly felt that he came to ask for help from the two of them, but was pushed back. It's just that both sides are paying so much attention to him now. So he had no choice but to bite the bullet and agreed. And looked at the back of Katsuragi-san as he left, stroking his head. Why is Sakayanagi-san unwilling to give the question? Oreki-san asked. Then why aren't you willing, Oreki-san? I want to go back to the dormitory and pet the cat, Sakayanagi said. If you are left alone often, you will feel lonely. Petting the cat. His cat. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 273. Now it is raised on Banlieu. Cats do need companionship. What about Oreki-san? Since anyone can do it, then naturally there is no need for him to contribute. So it would be best if Katsuragi-san takes charge. In this way, the step of setting the question was skipped. Oreki-san arrived at the library smoothly. Beep. Student card. However, Oreki-san found a bunch of love-related books on the bookshelf that started with the letter X. Then they were piled on the desk. But After reading it, I found that it only dealt with how to date or fall out of love, but there was no such thing as how to become friends again after being confessed. In other words, could it be said that is it impossible to go back to a normal relationship after confessing your love? So it would be nice if Ichino-san is here at this time, Oreki-san murmured. Eh? Are you calling me? However, a voice came from the back table of the library. Oreki-san looked over and saw a cute girl with long pink hair. This is Hanami Ichino's. And to appear by such a coincidence, this is truly an archangel. P.S. I still owe 66.5 updates. If you want monthly ticket equals Omega equals. Chapter 111 Archangel Ichino's, Oreki-san, you have been causing trouble for us. Ichino-san is indeed an archangel. Oreki met two angels in his high school, one was Kushida Kikyo and the other was Ichino's Hanami. However, Kushida-san has been confirmed to be Pinkari Kuro, a false angel. But Ichino's didn't. Although when she faced other people's confessions, she used words like I may not be such a good person. In other words, she may have a darker past. But Oreki didn't think she would be worse than Kushida. Rather, she has a pretty high opinion in Oreki-san's mind. And after realizing that Oreki-san was calling her, she walked out from behind. Her sweet smile and good looks make people feel happy from the moment she appears until she walks in front of her. This is probably the power of healing. Oreki-san also noticed that Ichino seemed to have been staying at the table behind him for a long time, and there were better books on the table where she was. These are. Oreki noticed that those were Chinese, mathematics, English, chemistry, physics, ancient Chinese, etc. They are all teaching materials. At the same time, they are all in the 3rd grade of junior high school. And the version is different. Just like the test questions in the regular written examination in the 2nd month of enrollment at a Kyosei high school are from the version more than 10 years ago, the textbooks that Ichino now collects on the table are also 10 years apart. From version A to version B and version C. So the whole desk was filled. It looks a bit spectacular. Well. Probably feeling a little embarrassed, Ichino's Hanami touched his head. Actually, these are various borrowed textbooks for the 3rd grade of junior high school. This time our class will face Class D. Then. She paused. Can't afford to lose. I can't afford to lose. After the sports festival, the evaluation scores of the 4 classes are as follows. Grade 1 Class A 2001 points. Grade 1 Class B 870 points. Grade 1 Class C, 580 points. 1st grade Class D 490 points. As for Ichino's and the others, Class B is 1131 points away from Class A, while Class C is only 290 points away from them, and Class D is also clinging to it. The goal of joining Class A is far away, but it is easy to be caught up. This time the test is only worth 50 points, but 50 class evaluation points are taken from the losing class, so the span is also considered 100 points. Although the score is small. But for them, it would be very bad if they lose again. Because I keep losing. There has never been a beautiful event since entering school, and during the sports festival, Shibata-san was greatly autistic, and at the same time he was further away from Class A. So a victory is urgently needed to cheer people up. In other words, Class B wants to take the assessment seriously in this exam. It is very important to know yourself and your enemy, so in order to prevent problems in Long Jiayuan's class, I borrowed all the junior high school textbooks from the library. Everyone in our class thinks Long Yuan is quite dangerous. She continued, so I'm worried that Ryuan's class will be stabbed again, so this time I'm going to get all the teaching materials that can be found in the library. Then hold a study meeting. In other words, this is a defense to prevent Ryuan's class from backstabbing. But Itchy Nose would do this, that is. Itchy Nose, don't you see the core of this exam, Oreki said. He also needs to ask Itchy Nose for advice on love matters, but he doesn't like to owe favors. So it's okay to show some kindness now. The core of the exam Archangel Itchy Nose seemed to frown cutely. Different classes declare war and then set questions for each other. You mean, we can treat this exam as the written exam in the second month of the entrance exam. That written test is a regular test, so you can buy test papers from your seniors. And now, since the students come up with the questions themselves, they can naturally exchange papers with each other in advance, right? Itchy Nose said. It seems that I have thought about it. But I've thought about this, but we can't exchange papers with Ryuan, Itchy Nose said. Because, Ryuan's side, can't believe it. I always feel that even if there is a deal, Ryuan will give out the wrong paper. Yes. Unbelievable. During the exam on Kojima, her class joined forces with Ryuan's class. Ryuan's class was responsible for providing supplies, and they gave points. Result. The spy was directly thrown over by Long Yuan. Got stabbed in the back. Therefore, the little angels in Class B couldn't believe Ryuan and felt that no matter whether they exchanged test papers or not, they might be stabbed in the back. So I want to go through all the versions of the textbooks for the third grade of junior high school again. Although the method is relatively clumsy, it can effectively prevent Ryuan and the others from making dirty tricks again. But Itchy Nose, do you really understand? Ichino-san Oreki-san said. Ryuan can't backstab him in this exam. It would be better to say that he is very afraid of you backstabbing him. Once the test papers you give are fake, a large number of students in their class will drop out. And this person who dropped out may also include himself. Because his academic ability is also quite bad. So in this case, he will only be thinking about how to make you trust him and not betray him, Oreki said. But Oreki-san paused. If your class wants to stabilize its position, I suggest that in this exam, you can take it normally. In other words, we won't take the option of exchanging test papers. Refuse to exchange test papers with Ryuan's class. First of all, the students in your class have a relatively low academic performance rate, so you can hold study meetings during this month to improve them. At the same time, because you have enough students with good academic ability, you can match the configuration of top academics and poor academics. According to the rules of the exam, 2 students are required to form a team, and then the total score of the single subject of the team must be greater than 60, and the total score of all subjects of the 2 people must also be greater than 700 points. To put it all together, it is safe for the 2 paired students to have a total score of more than 88 points in a single subject. And 88 points is not scored by one person, but by 2 people taking the test together. The difficulty is relatively low. The combination of a top student and a bad student can also be completed. Therefore, the rule of this exam is to give points to students in Class A and Class B. But for Class C and Class D, it is a devil. Because there are so many bad students, the number of top students is far less than that of bad students, so if you want to find a rescue pairing of top students and bad students, you won't be able to find them all. So if you can't get the test paper, there are not enough top students in Ryuan class, so the combination of bad students and bad students will be wiped out in large numbers. And being brushed off means dropping out of school. And maybe drop out of school a lot. So, Itchy Nose, you have actually mastered a pretty brave weapon. The score of this exam is not high, but it is an opportunity to quickly reduce the number of students in Class D where Ryuan is located, Oreki said. In the school's special examination, many items are related to the number of students in the class, so this can seriously hinder the Long Yuan class. So, Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 274. This exam is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for your class to directly delete Class D. Well, I heard Oreki-san say this. Ichi-no seemed stunned for a moment. Because they just wanted to avoid being stabbed in the back by Ryuan, they had to protect themselves. As a result, can it create such great destructive power? It was as if he had taken control of Ryuan's class all of a sudden. Of course I got it. Because Ichi-no's and the others came to the library to borrow different versions of junior high school textbooks, they could also get bonuses. Although the school has given each class an examination syllabus, and questions can be asked within these syllabuses, if Ichi-no's and the others choose different versions of textbooks, the syllabus will be the same and the questions will not exceed the limit, but the difficulty will still be greatly increased. For the Ryuan class, which was originally full of bad students, it directly evolved from a difficult difficulty to a hellish difficulty. At the same time, Oreki-san also discovered that it was just because of Megami's words that his heart was shaken, and then he chose Class C to declare war. Now looking at it, this seems to be a wise decision. Because Ichi-no's made him see the horror of formal exams without taking shortcuts. After all, everyone will not review all the content of the third grade of junior high school. Not to mention reading all versions of textbooks for the third grade of junior high school. So if Ichi-no's and the others screened all the teaching materials and finally integrated the test papers, they would be very impressive. Even Class A may capsize in the gutter. If you don't want to capsize, you have to go through all the teaching materials, which is also quite troublesome. But now this risk does not need to be borne by them, it belongs to Long Yuan and the others. This is really reassuring for energy conservationists. Only. It's up to you how you choose, Oreki said. I have highlighted the core of this exam. But you are the ones who really make the choice. Should we directly drop out of Ryuan's class and defeat them, or choose to trade high-priced points with them, etc.? Well. Ichi-no's nodded slightly. Because I never expected that this exam could become so important. So. Ichi-no's looked at Oreki-san. Oreki-san analyzed the core of this exam to her. Although Oreki-san's Class A and her Class B will not compete in this exam, they will, definitely be opponents in the future. Although the current Class B is very lazy. But she didn't think Oreki-san had to analyze so much. And now that I have analyzed so much, that means. Is there anything you want me to help you with, Oreki-kun? She asked. Yes, Oreki-san nodded. I was confessed to during my lunch break. Oh. Ichi-no's nodded. Then, the trouble I encountered was. Ichi-no's stark blue eyes stared at Oreki-san's desk. What should I do if someone confesses my feelings? What to pay attention to on the first date love trilogy ABCD? Ah. These are some incredible books. Similar to what you encountered before, Oreki said. After being confessed, I was thinking about how to restore the original relationship. Oh. That's it? Ichi-no's had been confessed to by his classmate Shiranami before, but was seen by Oreki-san. Then she was also said that the confession was over, but the friend may have been lost. And she didn't want to lose her friend Chihiro-san. So very hard. Finally. Let Kinksun understand that the other person's liking for her is not true love, then it is not love, and then the relationship between friends was restored. And the current relationship is very harmonious. Then Oreki-kun, here is. I'm not tempted, he said. At first I thought the other person was playing a punishment game, but it turned out that wasn't the case. It was that the other person really liked me. Although I declined, this is a closed school, so the probability of meeting again is very high. And I don't have the confidence to face the other person again and feel calm, Oreki said. Oh. That's it? Ichi-no's blinked lightly. Actually I feel a little surprised. Because she felt that Oreki-san was the type who was quite popular among girls, and then she herself, well, She also found that many girls had photos of Oreki-san on their cell phones. Result: has no one confessed to Oreki-san yet? It's just that Oreki-san felt like this after being confessed. She felt that her impression of Oreki-san could be updated. Because it seemed like an unexpected act of innocence. In other words, is this the first time Oreki-san has confessed his love? Absolutely, Oreki nodded. Ichi knows. First time. I think it might be more effective if we consult Kushida-san on this matter, Ichi knows said. Because I will reject others on the spot. Oh. So you have been confessed to a lot of times. Sure enough, popular beautiful girls are different. So, when we meet again, won't you feel awkward? Realizing that the other person likes you or something, Oreki said. I always feel uncomfortable. Ichi knows. But Ichi knows looked at Oreki-san strangely. Oreki-san, do you really not want to reject this person in your heart? Why do you say that? Oreki was puzzled. That's what I should say. Ichi knows seemed to be trying hard to adjust his words. If it's because you don't like the other person and feel that you can't respond to the other person's feelings, then after rejection, there will be no traces left in your heart. Because it is very clear why we can't be together. But the fact that you have hesitated until now, shows that you are resisting in your heart. But this statement already stunned Oreki. In other words, is there actually some turmoil in his heart? Does he like Sato-san? This is impossible, it's obviously the first time we've talked to him. Looking at Oreki-san's seemingly stunned expression, Ichi knows thought about it. She had consulted the other party about Kinksun's matters before, but now he was completely the opposite. But Ichi knows remembers the other person's favor. So I also want to make amends. And now? Do a test, Ichi knows said. But after looking around and confirming that no one was there, he breathed a sigh of relief. Well, Oreki-san, you sit here now, she asked Oreki-san to sit down. Then he trotted out for more than 10 meters, and then ran back again. Then she, who was not in very good physical condition, stopped in front of Oreki out of breath. This is something you can only say once in a lifetime, she said. Something you can only say once in a lifetime. The atmosphere behind these words seemed to Oreki that he had seen before. Could it be that it was a confession? Oreki-san. But Ichi knows had already started looking at Oreki's dark green pupils. Then two hands took his right hand. This posture is very similar to Kushida-san. But very different. Because I like you, Ichi knows said. Oreki was stunned. Is this a punishment game? No, it's a confession, probably because I feel that when I look at Oreki-san, I will be very concerned. So I hope Ichi knows said. Then it probably won't work, Oreki immediately refused. Ichi knows. It seemed that he didn't expect to be rejected immediately, but Ichi knows still said quickly, but what happens after I confess like this? How are you going to face me in school? Will you avoid it on purpose? Ichi knows asked. Do you find it difficult to remain friends? You'll realize that I like you and avoid me, right? She asked, approaching him. She has a very nice fragrance, and her long pink hair is also very beautiful. Oreki-san seemed to be stunned by the question. And Ichi knows took a step closer to him, and he seemed to want to take a step back. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 275. But Ichi knows felt relieved. Okay. It's okay then, she said. Confirmed. Oreki-san is not attracted to me, but he thinks of my situation after I confessed my love. This only shows that Oreki-san is a gentle person, Ichi knows said. In other words, what Oreki has been troubled about is how to face Sato-san after confessing his love. Is he actually thinking from the other person's point of view instead of being frightened by himself? Otherwise, he wouldn't want to avoid itchy nose after he just confessed his love. I think this situation should be handled with normalcy. Don't pay too much attention. And you may be inexperienced because it's the first time you've been confessed, she added. In other words, if you confess your love a few more times, your heart will become calmer, right? In other words, he really is still inexperienced. Oreki-san then wrote it down and planned to ask Kushida-san to confess to him that evening. After all, she was the one he could use now. And, something will happen if someone else confesses. Thank you Archangel Itchy Nose for your dedication. Then, probably because he had solved a troublesome matter, Oreki-san returned all the borrowed books to their places. Itchy Nose, on the other hand, thought twice, so he only borrowed the most recent set of textbooks for the third grade of junior high school, and then with the help of Oreki-san, he put the other versions of the textbooks back on the bookshelf. After doing this, it was already a little late. It's time for the school bell to ring. Oreki's class A is on the 5th floor, while Ichino's class B is on the 4th floor. Then the 3rd floor is the science laboratory, and the 2nd floor is class D. Then the 1st floor is Ryuan's class. Although the class rankings have changed and the class cards have also changed, the classroom has not changed. Long Yuan's class is still on the bottom floor. The two of them were about to go upstairs. Suddenly, leave them all alone. Then close the door. However, when passing by the stairs of Ryuan's class, Ryuan's voice came from Ryuan's class. SHH-. Oreki-san, who had already experienced this, suddenly grabbed Ichino's wrist. Meow. Itchy Nose probably didn't expect his hand to be held, so he made a sound. Wait a moment. But Oreki-san covered her lips. Ryuan class, it seems they want to do something. Oh. Itchy Nose blinked slightly. But considering that this time the exam will be against Ryuan's class. Although Oreki-san said that her class has a very powerful weapon against Ryuan and the others. But she did have a shadow on Long Yuan. Then, the two of them went down the stairs, then slowed down their pace, walked around in a circle, and came to the window of Long Yuan's class, squatting down with their backs against the wall. And Long Yuan's voice came from the classroom. In this exam, our class faced Class B. But the ideal plan is to deal with Class C. There are also a lot of bad students in Class C, so as long as we bring it up, they are very willing to exchange test papers with us and turn the closed book exam into an open book exam. As a result, we can only face Class B now. If it's against Class C, then we can still gain some points. But facing Class B, we are not so lucky. Because there are too few bad students in their class. So we are at a disadvantage. We urgently need the test papers from their class. However, it would be too much of a loss to break up the supply agreement on the island as a price. So Long Yuan said, I'll give you 10 days in the next period. Go and make trouble for Class B. Since their holy mothers can unleash a wave of aggression against Class C, they may also unleash a wave of aggression against us. In other words, Ryuan and the others have already made a plan to exchange test papers with Ichino's class. But I think Itchy Nose and the others are more holy, so they can still save points, right? Itchy Nose felt for a moment that he had been shot. But I don't think it's useful to keep trading like this, Ryuan said. At the end of the day, what if they don't trade with us next time? So, starting from today until the 24th, I will study for 2 hours every day. Read to me from 19 to 21 o'clock in the evening. China and Canada will organize the study meeting, Ryuan said. Teach from elementary school content. From this perspective, Long Yuan is still far-sighted. The school allows students to use rules and points, but is academic ability completely unimportant? Obviously not. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many written exams. Only This is also a sign that Ryuan has lost some of his pride. Because he initially felt that his studies were not good, but the rules of this school seemed to allow him not to regard studying as an important thing. That's why I want to take the class forward. And now, I started to want to study. So, it seems that the 15 kowtows he was asked to do during the sports festival still had an impact on him. Oreki-san thought to himself. Then, there is a second purpose for keeping you here today. That's it? While Long Yuan was talking, he seemed to be writing something on the blackboard. One can hear the sound of chalk rubbing against the blackboard. Oreki Houtarou, Ryuan said. I want you all to remember his name for me. Remember this bastard? It's this guy who's blocking us from going up and rushing to Class A. Then he took away all the points, Long Yuan said. This guy is a money withdrawal monster and treats us all as ATM machines. This guy is talking about taking half the points from the preferential treatment test. I think he wants to take away all the points from everyone who is a favored treater. Oreki. Oh. Oreki-san found that he had also been hit by an arrow. At the same time, he also realized that Long Yuan was not closing the door to plan and strategize, but, he was going to brainwash the students in the class. Oreki also noticed that Ichino seemed to be paying attention. Indeed. He wants to take away all the 80 million points that everyone got in the preferential treatment test. And Ryuan's class has been stripped naked. But Ichino's class hasn't moved yet. So Ichino-san is actually worried that he will attack their class. But, since Ryuan is brainwashing and needs to brainwash the students in the class, it also means that there are people in the class who are disobedient. For example, now. Oreki Houtarou. A girl appeared, and Oreki recognized the voice. It's Ibuki's. I don't think he is that extreme, Ibuki said. It would be better to say that when you ruled violently in Long Yuan, we kept losing. And everyone got points in the preferential test. That's a fact. At the same time, wasn't it because our class was stripped naked because you led so many boys to break the rules, and then he caught you in pigtails, Ibuki said. So my own points have also been handed over. It seems that she is very upset about the huge losses at the sports festival. Besides, I think before talking about Houtarou Oreki, what needs to be confirmed is whether your rule, Ryuan, was wrong. I want to confirm this. Long Yuan. Ryuan did not avoid his mistakes. Indeed, I made a mistake during the sports festival because I was completely fooled by Oreki Houtarou. I want to suppress Houtarou and the others. I even want to extract points from Horikita Suzune. But unfortunately, all my actions were seen by Oreki Houtarou. That's why all of us were exploited by him, Long Yuan said. Is that so? But isn't Oreki an honest person? Ibuki said. He also asked me for help. He hoped that I would show justice. Ryuan opened his eyes wide. Ibuki, is there something wrong with you? Are you still talking to that old and cunning trickster Oreki at this time? Do you know how to read people? I'm telling you, Oreki is a trap, a liar, a bastard, and a trap. Long Yuan wrote. From the very beginning of your store opening plan, he was a super liar. That means Ichino's and his class are still being deceived. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 276. Because he has been fooled by the opponent at least 4 times. Then this kind of person can actually be called an honest person. Ryuan thought he would vomit blood. Isn't this right? Ishizaki said. Because he is also returning interest to the people in Class B. That's because he has more money now, Long Yuan said. And it was also at this time that Ryuan discovered that Ishizaki Daiichi still thought that Oreki Houtarou was a good person. He took a deep breath. First of all, during Kojima's exam, did Ibuki forget? I asked you to go to class A, but you were thrown directly to Ichino's by Oreki. Wasn't it because Oreki found out that it was disadvantageous, so for his own class, so I sold you directly to Ichino's, Ryuan said. So I was seen through and sold. Ibuki seemed to have been brainwashed by Ryuan. Does this mean that Oreki Houtarou has always been the actor? Definitely, Long Yuan said, because no matter how you look at it, it is a fact that he now holds tens of millions. How can an honest person get so many points? What a liar. You said he didn't squeeze everyone's points, so where did his current points come from? So I was cheated, Ibuki muttered. You were deceived. Long Yuan felt a headache. But Oreki found that his left hand was being held by someone. Being held by soft little hands. This is Ichino's. But she took out her phone and looked at it. She seemed to want him to look at his phone. And looked at him with puppy-like eyes. So, Oreki-san, you saw through Ibuki as a spy from the very beginning, and Oreki-san, did you bring Ibuki to our class on purpose, by Hanamai Ichino's? Then the store opening plan is also lying to us, by Hanamai Ichino's. For it. Chapter 112. The Archangel is bad at learning and reading, read it to me. To be fair, the store opening plan is a lie. Then he confirmed that Ibuki was a spy and sent it to Class B on purpose. So Ichino's suspicions are all true. Oreki. But these words cannot be spoken. But now that he has money, Oreki-san will still take care of his feathers. Especially when Ichino's was in the library, he helped him solve his emotional problems. So Oreki doesn't want his reputation in the other person's mind to drop. But now Ichino's was looking at him with pitiful eyes like an abandoned puppy. This is Ryuan's brainwashing, Oreki-san said in a low voice. He probably lost to me several times, and then the morale of the class plummeted, so he wanted to create a common enemy. As long as a group creates a common enemy, it can quickly unite. This is quite beneficial to the class, Oreki said. Ryuan's class wants to learn now, but it is quite difficult for them, so it is necessary to find a common enemy to bear this resentment. That is to say, Oreki-san feels that he is regarded as an imaginary enemy by Ryuan. Ichino's nodded lightly. Yes. Oreki nodded. Then he probably felt that Ichino's already didn't trust him in his words, but if he continued to listen to Ryuan's words, he might not trust him even more. This is truly a disaster. So Oreki-san chose to turn on the recorder function on his phone, put it aside, and then took Ichino's hand and walked up the stairs. Did he? At this time, the second school clearing bell rang. After Oreki-san packed his school bag, he came to Ichino's class. She cleaned up a little slower. In fact, Oreki-san also understands. Because she brought the books from the library with her, and then she had to carry the textbooks back with her. Slightly heavier. Well, Oreki hasn't left yet. After finishing cleaning up, Ichino's found Oreki-san at the door of her classroom, standing in the corridor with his back to her. As if waiting for someone. Oreki. Yes. Because I'm worried that you may be affected by Ryuan's brainwashing technique, I'd like to clarify. He said. This school puts strength first and points first. At that time, I discovered that Senior Nagamo's milk tea shop was very promising, and then I planned to open a store. Of course, I was later blocked by Nagamo-senpai, who wanted to pay him for the right to use it if he wanted to open a store. At the same time, Oreki-san took out his cell phone. Clicked on the transfer content between himself and Ichino's. The students in your class and I signed a loan agreement. The content is 1. Fundraising. After joining, you need to invest 50,000 in the first month, and 30,000 in each subsequent month for 6 months. From the third month, 15% of the invested capital will be returned every month. All principal will be returned within 12 months. You will have priority to participate in the next fundraising. 2. This contract is valid for 12 months. Then, I have received 75 add 45 add 45 add 45 add 45 equal 2.55 million points from your class. But in accordance with the requirements of the contract, we will refund you 15% every month starting from the third month. In other words, the store is not open now, but I have fulfilled the contract, Oreki-san said. Profound. Of course Ichi-nose knew this. Because starting from the second month, she was responsible for collecting the points of the 15 students in the class who participated in Oreki-san's fundraising plan. Then the responsibility will be transferred to Oreki-san every month. And she also saw the student ID information from Oreki-san just before he clicked on the transfer record. Name, Houtarou Oreki. Student ID, 100-861-0010. Class, Grade A, First Grade. Private account, 50.931501 points. The private account is indeed an impressive number. At the same time, since the store has not been opened, Oreki-san has been returning 15% interest to them for 3 months, which is actually quite scary. But Oreki-san has been persisting for 3 months. So it is indeed an exaggeration to say that you lied to them. So is what Ryuan-san said really just deceiving people? Oh. Ichi-nose nodded. It seemed like he believed Oreki-san. But she put her skull bag aside and took a step forward. But Oreki-san took a step back. Because it's the same as a library but not the same. Because Ichi-nose-san once again held his right hand with both hands. But this is not a so-called confession test. Instead she was holding his hand. The grip is different. If he had to describe it, it would probably be like being held by lawyer Horikita on a ship. This strange feeling of being held by a girl suddenly made his heart beat faster. In fact, Oreki-san originally hoped that our Class B would terminate the agreement on our own, just like Ryuan's class. Ichi-nose didn't know what Oreki-san was thinking about lawyer Horikita. She said. Then you want to steal some of the points we have given you, right? She held his hands, then raised her cheek slightly, looking up at him. It was as if he was praying pitifully. It makes people feel very guilty. Well. Ichi-nose-san. It's a foul for you to do this. So, don't you know that he is cheating money? Oreki-san has nothing to say about this. This store opening agreement is a trap. At first, I wanted to test the vision of the representatives of Class B and Class C. And Ryuan is very direct. But Ichi-nose's side seemed much more circuitous. And because the 15 students in her class persisted, the agreement was not terminated, and Oreki could only pay points. But now because they have delayed it, they are waiting for the fruits. He has so many points now that he doesn't care about this loss. Rather, you can wake yourself up. As for the points paid out, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the students in Class B are little sheep, and we can look for an opportunity to take them away in the future. Certainly. It's easy to hurt feelings by saying this. And he is not a money-receiving monster, he only knows how to take money. At the same time. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 277. He found that Ichi-nose seemed to want to continue to get the answers she wanted. Then used the cute attack again. Well. Although he has Kushida as a sparring partner, Ichi-nose is a far superior archangel than Kushida-san. The attack power is very strong. This. And Oreki found himself a little shaken. So Oreki-san wants to take advantage of this money, Ichi-nose repeated it again. Continue to look at him with more pitiful eyes. Hey, this must be a foul. Among the first-year students, Kushida-san is very cute, Horikita-san is the top beauty girl, and Sakura-san is also the top one. But there is another person, and that is Archangel Ichino's. If there is a beauty ranking among girls, then she can get into the top 3. So, you're a beautiful girl in the top 3 grades, you're going too far, you know that. Oreki always felt like he couldn't resist thinking about Kushida-san's cuteness. Then, I really want to be greedy. Oreki gave up resistance. The agreement to open a store is indeed a cover. Just Ichino's-san, you have to know that there are no absolutely good people in this world. If you want to drive people to take action, you need to give them enough benefits. Yes, Ichino said, so Oreki-san did deliberately put Ibuki-san on my side when he was taking the exam on Kojima. Well. So Ichino's brainwashing by Ryuan was excessive. But what she said was actually right. Realizing that his attempts to cover up this point failed, Oreki-san gave up on the detour. Absolutely, because 36 people from Long Yuan's class participated in my plan to open a store at the beginning. Although Ibuki is not included in it. But Long Yuan can directly terminate the agreement altogether, and this is a big deal for them. So I confirmed that Ryuan gathered the entire class at that time. So Ibuki and the others objected to Ryuan's violence and then showed it on the deck. I think there is something wrong, Oreki said. So, when Ryuan's class abstained and Ibuki and the others stayed on the island, I basically confirmed that Ibuki and the others were carrying out a torture plan and actually stayed as spies. Then I found out that a classmate in my class had left Ibuki behind. So I took action, Oreki said. Ichi knows. So that is indeed the case. But it's really too much to put him in my class like this, Ichi knows complained. Because if she hadn't been betrayed by Ibuki, stabbed in the back, and found out the identity of the leader, then she wouldn't be so sad, and then even went to reflect in the rain. But then you can just watch them live on the island after knowing that they are spies, Oreki asked. But Ichino's couldn't answer this answer, because at that time, I was afraid that even if he knew that they were spies, he would never be able to just leave them alone on the island. And even now, I probably feel that it is too cruel to treat classmates from the same school like that. So they may still take in Ibuki and Canada. So Oreki-san is basically certain, even though he pointed out Class B's winning plan in the library today. Refusing to cooperate with Long Yuan, and then directly expelling more than 10 students from Long Yuan's class. Ichi knows and the others must not be able to come up with this plan. So this is the outstanding weakness of your character. Sometimes you know it is wrong but you still do it. Oreki-san said. For example, if there is an exam that forces you to drop out of school, you probably don't want anyone to drop out. Even the whole class will have to pay a heavy price. This point. Ichi knows felt that this point could not be refuted. And we are in different classes. It is allowed for me to target you for the benefit of my own class, because these are different positions, Oreki said, so regarding Ibuki, you absolutely cannot blame me. Woo. Ichi knows said this and was completely unable to resist. But in this case, the theory of cheating Class B has been solved. But why did you just think of holding my hand and pretending to be cute? Oreki-san was a little curious. Because he felt that Ichi knows was not the kind of girl who would hold a boy's hand so casually. For example, in the confession test in the library, it can be seen that she is not good at it. Because the rhetoric used is like saying it only once in this life. Obviously I haven't told anyone else. How do I put it, but Archangel Ichino's cheeks were a little red, because when I was walking with Oreki-san, Oreki-san was looking at me from the collarbone to the abdomen, so maybe I thought Oreki-san might be a lustful boy. So I want to test it out, she said sheepishly. But this simple statement caused great harm to Oreki. Because, is he looking at girls like this? Maybe I was too close to Kushida-san, so I subconsciously looked over. Oreki-san felt that he had to correct his gaze. So that night, Kushida thought Oreki Houtarou was crazy. Let her confess to him again. Let her walk up and down in front of him again. What a new way to torture her. The next morning. The second class is over. Lunch break. Oreki-san was sitting in his seat. This month's special exam was about asking each other's questions, and Class A declared war on Class C. Then, the task of coming up with the questions was left to Katsuragi-san. Oreki-san was sitting there, wiping his phone with a tissue. When he was brainwashing in Ryuan last night, he took Ichino's away and left his cell phone behind to continue recording. Unfortunately, no useful information was recorded. But what can be confirmed is that Ryuan's class really wants to study this time. Really let the students with good academic ability in the class be responsible for 2 hours of study every day, and at the same time, they should start from elementary school. This is a bit exaggerated, but if you want to improve your academic ability, you can only start from the basics. Speaking of which, Class B seems to be in contact with Class D. While Oreki-san continued wiping his phone, Itayanagi-san sitting next to him said, "The contact mentioned here is actually the plan of Class B and Class D for this pairing examination." Ichino's and the others finally chose to exchange test papers with each other. But Ichino's and the others are actually a little bit surprised that they can still use psychological pressure, Sakayanagi-san said. "I heard that before their class meeting, they sent different versions of the 3rd grade junior high school textbooks from the library to 1st grade Class D. Then we successfully reached an agreement with Ryuan's class in less than 10 minutes, Sakayanagi said. "Oh. Then you are really well informed." However, this was Oreki-san's suggestion. Since Ichino's class can't be a virgin, the only solution is to exchange test papers to get the maximum benefit. 1. The agreement between Ryuan class and their class's Kojima materials has been terminated. 2. Ryuan's class owes their class 3 million points or a debt repayment method worth 3 million points. Among them, because Long Yuan's class had no money, they could only write an IOU. "But what did Oreki-san get this time?" Sakayanagi said. "It seems that he is definitely involved." "So what did you get?" "He terminated the store opening agreement of the 15 classmates in Ichino's class. Oreki-san returned the shares they had paid. At the same time, he no longer has to pay interest. It is equivalent to ending the agreement in disguise. It is now the 5th month. If you want to complete the contract, you still need to pay an interest of close to 1 million yuan. So it saves money. But these are superficial things," Oreki-san said. "Classmate Banliu, what do you think of the 4 classes A, B, C, D? Ultimately, which class can graduate as Class A without our intervention and the school's intervention?" "Which class?" Banliu seemed to be thinking for a moment. Then he asked, "What do you think, Oreki-san?" "Let's do this," Oreki said. "We write down the class names at the same time. Then we announce them together." "It's quite interesting," Sakayanagi said. Sakayanagi seemed interested. So Oreki turned his gaze in front of him and wrote class in the notebook. "And Banliu has also written it. So, take it out together." Oreki-san raised his notebook, and Itanyanaga did the same. However, Kamuro-san behind the two of them looked like he had seen a ghost. Because she was not included in the conversation between the two, she did not interrupt. But doesn't mean she didn't hear it. However, what do these two people mean now? Because the two of them felt that without the intervention of the two of them and the school, the class that could finally graduate as Class A turned out to be Class D. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 278. This Class D is not Horikita's class, but Ryuan's class. Because the hardware facilities of this class are very poor, but they have one important thing. That means being willing to listen. For example, in the sports festival, 20 boys really listened to Ryuan and violently attacked Tsuyodu. And like Kinoshita, he is an excellent athlete himself, and as a result he is willing to implement the plan and act even though he is injured. This execution is excellent. And if it can be applied well, it will be very useful. At the same time, what hardware does the school use to select students? Thinking ability, written test ability, and athletic talent. Class C's athletic talent isn't that bad, it's better to say it's a bunch of hot girls and delinquents, and their physical fitness is actually quite good. And if your academic ability is very poor, although it cannot reach excellence, it is still useful to make up for it. At least it won't be so difficult to cope with the school's normal written exams. Looking at Ichino's class, although the hardware is very good and the students are very united, if you always hold on to the idea of not wanting to hurt others, you will not be able to adapt to this school. Take this time suggestion for exchanging test papers. Although it was Oreki-san's prompting, it also shows that Ichino's class lacks the absolute courage to hurt others. The students in his class want to keep it, and then they don't even get rid of their enemies. So it's basically impossible. As for Class A, both Sakayanagi and Oreki-san believe that Katsuragi-san alone cannot survive. The position in Class A is poisonous. If you fall down a few times, the students in Class A will become autistic. But Itayanagi-san, that makes you terrible. Because what he imagined was if she and he didn't interfere. That is to say, Sakayanagi-san, do you really want to drop out of school during your second year? Or maybe you already think so. Because he received the terrible news, Oreki-san had no choice but to attend class seriously. And on the fourth day when the exam rules were announced. It was also when Ryuan's class started studying in elementary school that Oreki-san was contacted by Horikita-san. Yes. This month's special exam is Class A declaring war on Class C, and then Class B and Class D confront each other. Among them, Class B and Class D have reached an agreement. What about Class A and Class C? I haven't seen you for a few days. Oreki-san said. Horikita Susan nodded. So, don't you have anything to say about this exam, she said. They met at the same place, Kushida-san sat obediently on one side, and the current situation was basically confirming that it was Horikita Susan-san who wanted to date him. And the purpose is also clear. It's about this special exam. I haven't started collecting points yet, right? This is why my class directly declared war on your class. Oreki-san said. Our class also has a contract with your class for supplies for the island. Then our class can give you the test papers to be published. And this agreement is ending. But there is one less mediator in the middle. So you can act. And this time. Oreki glanced at his account. Name, Houtarou Oreki. Student ID, 100-861-0010. Class, Grade A, First Grade. Private account, 48,371,501 points. He has returned the points of 15 students in Ichino's class. So it fell below 50 million points. This time I only need 1.7 million points, Oreki-san said. How much you can receive in mediation fees, and then you allocate the excess yourself. Actually, we came here at the request of the class. We have already collected 3 million points, Horikita Susan said. Students in the class are very worried about this written test. And people like Yukimura and others with good academic abilities are also worried about being dragged down. Because it is a paired exam. Then the gentle Hirata-san's approach is to hope for a combination of top academics and poor academics. But if the students in class A make things difficult, there will also be pressure on the top students. At the same time, they also heard that Class B went to Longyuan class with various versions of junior high school textbooks. The school does not require which version of the junior high school textbook to be used, so wouldn't it be troublesome to just ask the questions? Because it is impossible to read so many textbooks. So, After all this information is combined, the result is, even top students like Yukimura in Class C feel pressured. Afraid of being dragged down by bad students and dropping out of school. In this way, before Oreki-san wanted to withdraw the money, the students from Class C sent it to him first to pray for safety. So your class is pretty awesome. After choosing to pay for safety at the sports festival, it became a habit. In the preferential candidate examination, the school paid each student about 500,000 points. Then he drew half of it. So each student has 250,000 points left in his hand. Among them, because the monkey group ended early, the students in Class C gathered about 9 million points and then spent 4 million in the sports festival, and now another 3 million. It's really great. But this also means that they will be exploited. Not to mention, Oreki-san's share of Class C's class evaluation score is 270 points. Then remove the material agreement with Class A. So it's hard to say whether Class C will have living expenses next month. This is really disappointing. Only, can't you just exempt half of it? When school was over in the afternoon, it was Oreki-san who took Katsuragi-san to first-year Class C. As the representative of Class C, Hirata-kun worked hard to gain a share. Class A needs to pay Class C points worth 200 class evaluation points every month, which is 800,000 points. Then every month. It's a long-term meal ticket for Class C. However, Class A now wants to tear up this agreement. Hirata-kun hopes to keep half of the agreement. That is to say, 400,000 points are spent every month, and then Class C can have living expenses of 10,000 points per person. But it's a pity, Katsuragi-san said. We also have to consider the interests of our own class. Or, Katsuragi said, I can only make questions from the 6th edition of the junior high school textbook. This is our biggest concession. And if you can make it, then there is no need to buy papers from us. There are several sets of textbooks for the 3rd grade of junior high school. Different versions. Katsuragi-san's statement almost means that he came to write the test papers and then told them the syllabus. But our class also has its own test papers. Horikita is also considered the representative of Class C, so you can also speak. Then you can exchange test papers with your class. I can also participate in publishing the papers, Gao Yuanji said. Oh. J-Yuan Temple. Takahiraji is a tough guy. Although it is only a test paper for the 3rd grade of junior high school, and the students in class are also very good academically, Katsuragi-san also has pressure on tough guys like Takahiraji. So Katsuragi-san quickly looked at Oreki-san. Look at him. Of course Oreki-san doesn't like spending points every month. So this kind of agreement must be removed first. Only, if Takahiraji proposes a question, will his side or Sakayanagi-san also propose a question? And this becomes a competition with each other. And doesn't this just make things troublesome? Make it simple, Oreki-san said. Our two classes can have a betting agreement. The deadline for submission of test papers for each class is 1700 hours PM on the 24th. And our two classes will exchange the test papers of both classes at 1705 on the 24th. If Class C can get the 50-point class evaluation score, that is the bonus score for this test after getting the test paper, then our Class A will change the 800,000 points paid to Class C every month to 400,000. And if Class C can't do it, then the agreement between Class A and Class C to spend 800,000 points every month will be invalidated. So my suggestion is that you study harder, Oreki-san said. Because it's very risky to always do these transactions. So what about the truth? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 279. And Oreki-san found that he had received a message. It was from Horikita-san. Your class is too bad. Although it is easy to harvest, it has been harvested and is of no use. I'm worried that if this continues, you won't even be able to protect my points. And Juyunji is following us now, which means that he has begun to fulfill his agreement with us. He will also take responsibility to protect the points. So it's just a good time to catch him and give you some extra lessons. Takahiraji is a genius whose academic ability and intelligence are no less than those of Sakayanagi-san in my class. So the academic abilities of the scumbags in your class are astonishing. Ordinary teachers have no way of starting with him. But Gao Yuanji is different, so the scumbags might be able to prostitute him for free. Maybe I can get some results. I know Sakura-san and Kuruzawa-san work hard, but they just can't learn. So it might be helpful to ask Hirata to organize a study meeting and then ask Gao Yuanji to teach. Then, I will also arrange for Kamuro from my class to come over. Her academic ability seems to have reached a bottleneck. Let's see if we can break through. Oh. That's it? Then it should be said that it is you. But why choose Sakura or Kuruzawa? And Kamuro-kun's academic ability isn't very high, either. In this way, it was a little forced, but towards the end of last semester, the first-year students' learning style began. In order not to be dropped out of school, Ryuan's class started in elementary school, and Class C also formed a study group. At the request of Hirata, Takahiraji served as a teacher. Do you want to entrust me to become a teacher? Quite interesting. In other words, this challenge is quite interesting. That's what Juyunji said. Although I feel it is a thankless task. However, he was really surprised by the poor students' abilities in the class. And this is like an extremely difficult challenge, but it seems a little interesting. Then, he also started teaching in primary school. Oreki-san, who handed over all the tasks, had a rare precognitive dream. Only, this night's precognitive dream was a little strange. Because another postcard from Juyunji Temple. Lawyer Horikita has returned from a business trip. When she came back from home, she took the letters and postcards in the mailbox into the house. And Oreki-san noticed. The Shinglin Private Academy High School has been conquered. The problem students there are quite interesting by Juyun Temple. Then there is a photo of the adult Golden Kojinji Rokusuk and his students. Is this Juyun Temple? Oreki asked. Well, it's been several years since he became a special teacher. But lawyer Horikita said. I thought he wanted to inherit the family business, but he ended up using the family's power to move around schools and become a teacher for students with various problems. For it. Does this mean that Takahiraji has changed from the air of a chable to a spicy teacher who specializes in dealing with problem children? It seems like he did something bad. Oreki-san actually just wants to think that Sakura-san is the kind of person who works very hard, but never gets rewarded. It is too difficult to study, and Huey's academic ability is not good. So it's a good time to take a genius class. Result. Will the future Kojinji take this path instead? The mood is slightly complicated. In this way, time passed in makeup lessons. And Katsuragi-san is also busy with the problem of writing papers. Oreki-san has become more relaxed here. His daily life is relatively regular. Study at Nukan High School and then switch from boarding to day school. The supplies in the school are very good, so it is very convenient to buy them directly. At the same time, probably because the weather is a little hot, he is a little tired from cooking for himself, so now he basically has dinner at school before going home. It seemed that Sakayanagi-san was not unhappy because we had dinner together. But when Oreki-san was about to put his phone in the dormitory and go back to his home that night, he found that he had received a message. My Asato applied to add you as a friend, do you agree? Oreki. Maya Sato, probably Sato-san. The one who confessed her love to him. And Oreki thought of what Archangel Ichinos had said. Don't care too much and treat it calmly. Once you have more experience of being confessed, you won't be so shaken. 2. Just treat it normally. After all, he has more experience now and can treat it calmly. Add 2. Oreki and his classmates agreed. Because if you deliberately avoid something, it will make the other person feel that you still care about them. This will make people feel embarrassed. But when he was about to put down his phone, Sato-san sent a message. Oreki-san, my studies are not very good, can you teach me extra? How about we go to the library together after school tomorrow? I thought I was completely rejected by you, it didn't, which was great. Oreki. So Oreki quickly sent a message to Kushida, asking if agreeing to the friend invitation of the girl who failed to confess was a signal to him. Chapter 113 Happy Birthday, Houtarou. Sato-san, it's so expensive. I can't afford it. Oreki-san quickly sent a message to Kushida. Ask him if he messed up. The advice I got from Ichino-san is to increase the experience value of confessing to girls. As long as you are not embarrassed, the other party will not be embarrassed either. In other words, not special treatment, but normal treatment. So when he saw someone adding him as a friend, he just clicked a reply. Only. Why did it turn into going on a date in the library and not rejecting her completely? So Oreki-san quickly consulted another person who was good at dealing with this kind of thing. Did he? Kushida quickly responded. She has a lot of friends, and she may need to quickly reply to other people's messages, so her hand speed is very fast. And she quickly came to a conclusion. Scumbag. Forward. In other words, this is indeed the case, and I accidentally gave a signal to Sato-san that we can still get along with him. But this also shows that the experience gained from Archangel Ichinos is useless. It's just that she hasn't been in love herself, so it's really difficult to learn from her. After thinking about it for a while, Oreki-san decided to meet Sato-san. So, they agreed on a time to meet after school tomorrow afternoon. Oreki-san put down his phone and returned to his home. The next day is Friday, so you can have 2 days off as long as you have the previous day. And Oreki-san has not forgotten his cat, and plans to pet it today. But as expected, let's go to the classroom first. While thinking, he came to the classroom. Because I am an energy-saving messenger, all the books I need to read are placed in the classroom. He doesn't like bringing textbooks home. So it is very convenient to move around. But Oreki-san noticed that Sakayanagi-san sitting next to him had already arrived. There is a book on horoscopes and divination on her desk. Oreki-san Sakayanagi noticed his arrival. What is your horoscope? Constellation. I don't pay attention to zodiac signs, Oreki said. In other words, I have never done anything like horoscope divination. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 280. So when is your birthday? Yuzusaka Yanagi asked. August 9th, Oreki said. It is August 8th, and August 9th is also his birthday. And Itayanagi-san continued, Oreki-san, you are a Leo, so your luck today is very good. It seems that you are lucky. There is no need for such things as love luck. Oreki-san has to meet Sato-san today. Yesterday I gave the other party a wrong signal, and I have to make up for this mistake today. And speaking of this, I may have to meet Hade tonight, Oreki-san said. Blast is the name of his cat. As an orange cat, the fatness is acceptable, but it moves like the wind. Because Sakayanagi-san was unwell and had been staying behind, after some consideration, Oreki-san lent him his cat. And now he is also raised in Sakayanaga's dormitory. That's no problem, Sakayanagi said. I won't go out after school in the afternoon. In other words, the evening trip was to go to Sakayanagi-san's dormitory to pet the cat. Did he? But Oreki-san noticed that his phone vibrated. What's wrong? Sakayanagi Yuzu, who had already put down the horoscope divination book, seemed a little curious. Nothing, Oreki said. Because he received a blank message. To be precise, it was a message sent by Kurosawa-san, but there was only a period on it. Probably just pressed the wrong button. Because after waiting for another minute, the other party did not add any additional information. In this way, Oreki-san focused on the textbook he took out of the drawer. As a student, your time at school is of course used to study efficiently. 3:30 in the afternoon. At the end of the second period, Mr. Majima announced that school was over. Then that's the end of today's lesson. The student on duty will wipe the blackboard. Mashima-sensei said. Today's student on duty is Oreki-san. But a tall boy went up and wiped the blackboard first without anyone calling his name. In fact, Yuchin High School is quite convenient. Not only does it not require tuition, but you can also get living expenses, and class competition can also lead to a bright future. At the same time, as a student in the class, Oreki-san enjoys the convenience. The relationship between the students in the class is a little different from the outside world. There is a feeling of, well, being respected and admired. Students in the class will rush to do the little things that everyone has to do, such as being on duty. Therefore, Oreki-san can basically leave the classroom as soon as the bell rings. So, watching Oreki-san's leaving figure, Sakayanagi Yuzu handed the borrowed horoscope divination book to Kamuro-san. Kamuro-san also has tutoring today, right? Then help me return this book to the library. Kamuro-san thinks Sakayanagi Yuzu is really troublesome. Because Rokusuke Takaharaji of Class C started a study class, she was recommended to go there, and unexpectedly found that the other person's teachings made her feel enlightened. So she has broken through the 80-point limit, and she will surely reach the level of Katsuragi-san soon. And now I still need to go to Jyuin Temple for a few more study sessions as a lecturer. Result. Now there is no need for Sakayanagi to give her extra lessons, and then she has to listen to Sakayanagi. Oh. Wait a moment. By the way, is Sakayanagi jealous? Kamuro-san thought. Because Sakayanagi could control her by giving her tutoring before. But now, it was because she had another teacher, and Sakayanagi ordered her around more often. In other words, are you thinking about competition? Kamuro-san. And Sakayanagi Arasu found that his dog seemed to be in a daze. Fine. Kamuro, who said this, took the divination book Itanyu borrowed yesterday and headed to Class C, first grade. Tutorial classes at JUNG are after school and then in class. However, Class C is still so hopeless. After the study meeting at JUNG Temple, only about a dozen students remained, and the others hoped that Hirata would hold a study meeting. Because JUNG will treat them as fools. So, when the tutor went to make up lessons, Oreki-san came to the library. Where are you? Well. After entering the library, he received a message from Sato-san. After a while, after finding a quiet table and sitting down, Oreki-san discovered that Sato-san had already arrived carrying a white school bag. Oreki chose a table with 4 seats. Sato-san put his school bag on the side of the table and sat on his right side. Oreki-san. But Sato-san noticed Oreki-san's empty desk and seemed a little curious. Did you bring nothing? And she no longer looked like she was about to cry when her confession failed that day. At the same time, I seem to be in a good mood today. Do you mean the school bag? Oreki-san said. I don't carry a school bag. I usually finish what I want to learn in class. And then there are very few markings in the textbooks. This is really mysterious, Like a super genius, Sato-san then moved his chair closer to Oreki-san. Let me explain in advance that the distance between these two chairs is 35 centimeters. But now it's 20 centimeters. Well. She must have sprayed jasmine perfume, which smelled somewhat fragrant. Moreover, it seems to be different from the situation at the scene where she confessed her love that day. Although she is still dressed like a hot girl, she can feel that she has put on some costumes. How should I put it, she seems to have become cuter. But Sato-san opened his school bag. I'm terrible at math dash. She took out the exercises and books. The pencil case was also taken out. In other words, it seemed like I wanted to ask him for advice. Oreki. It seems that it is indeed his lack of emotional experience. Maybe the other person just wanted to learn, rather than misunderstanding the signal he gave, and then started chasing him again. Only. I heard that your class's Kojinji temple held a study meeting. Don't you want to participate? Oreki-san said. Ah, that's it. Sato-san said, Kakajanji-san's studies are very strong, but like Horikita-san, it can make people's minds explode. How can Horikita-san tell you why you can't even know a linear equation of two variables? Are you an idiot? And Gao Yuanji-san is also the kind of person who thinks that everyone is mortal and he is the only one who is a genius. And then he seems to think that as a genius, if he wants to teach mortals, then everyone must listen to his thinking. Well. I'm not paying attention to Kojinji. As if he was afraid of being misunderstood, Sato-san quickly explained. It can be confirmed. Learning is learning, but it is not primarily learning. Because if you didn't care about him, you wouldn't explain this specifically. So. Sure enough, I have to tell Sato-san. He added her as a friend yesterday, not for anything else, but that he has the same attitude towards everyone who applies. Think so? He noticed that Sato-san had put down his pen and looked over curiously. Speaking of which, this is my first time in the library. In other words, I don't think I like studying very much. So if we weren't with Oreki-san, we wouldn't be here. For it. So what do you want to say? That. About the previous one. Her face seemed to turn red again.